go downhill with all the rentals. And we would appreciate if y'all take into consideration to the honor the R1 and R2. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? One last chance. All righty, we'll move to reviewing and approving the agendas. Anyone in the board have any amendments they'd like to make to the agenda?
Yes, sir. I'd like to discuss this letter that we got Sunday from, discuss the merit of the letter from Jennifer Hoffman. I'd like to discuss the letter from Derek Allen dated March the 3rd of 2022 that we just got Sunday. And it's kind of a mystery where it's been, but I'd like to discuss the letter and add it to the agenda.
Well, I'm not,
What's the opinion of the board? Change the agenda?
no, I'm not, it's not on the agenda and I'm not prepared to, I don't know what it is and I'm not prepared to discuss it tonight.
What I was going to ask is that we ask the town attorney to respond to Mr. Allen that we got the letter several months late and we're going to discuss it in executive session at our next meeting. I think it's only courteous to acknowledge receipt of the letter, and I think it's appropriate to discuss in executive session what his comments were.
We can tell our attorney to acknowledge that we got the letter, but I don't think we need to go in executive session to do that.
I'm talking about the next meeting when Bob is here. I'm not asking for an executive session tonight. I'm asking for an executive session at the next meeting with Bob and Jay to discuss what they proposed and what their recommendation. That's what I was going to ask.
Well, that's an agenda item for.
Yes,
a month
I
from now.
asked the mayor to add it to the agenda and he declined. And so I'm asking you if we can add this to the agenda tonight. And what I'm going to ask for, I promise, is to put it on next month's agenda and ask for Bob and Jay to be present and ask for Jay to please acknowledge receipt of the letter. That's all.
Well, not having read the letter and not knowing exactly what you're talking about, I don't know that I can say whether I want it on the agenda or not.
Yes,
Most
it
of
was,
these agenda things need to be public. That's unless we're directing an attorney in some way. It's a public, it's not a closed session item.
well, Jay, you could help me. It's a correspondence between attorneys. It's from one attorney to another. And it's involved his comments in an active lawsuit. And I just don't think we should. I think the polite thing to do is to try to be calm and polite and kind and acknowledge receipt of the letter and to discuss it with our attorneys and our attorneys respond. That's the polite thing to do rather than just ignore it. Amy, it was emailed to you Sunday night, same time I got it.
That doesn't mean I read it. It wasn't on the agenda for this week.
I'll be happy to respond. Very unusual.
Third, yes, sir. Sunday night, yes, sir, Monday.
But I'll acknowledge that we received that. Okay, would you like to? It's kind of a mute point. Get together with the mayor for the next meeting and get it on the agenda.
If he declines, I'll be back again and ask to discuss it with Bob. But yes, I'll be happy to ask again, and I appreciate Jay responding.
Okay. Any other potential changes to the agenda?
Also, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, under number 9, we need to add another budget amendment for the Poplar Street water improvement.
Okay. Anything else?
Move we approve the agenda with the noted changes.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 3-1. No.
Oh, that's right. You can't vote.
Well,
Sure you can.
Can you vote?
I can. If there's a tie, I'll vote tie.
No, you should vote.
No voting.
You're obligated to vote in.
Okay. How's that? After the fact. All righty, move on to approval of the May 19th special meeting minutes. Any changes or corrections?
I move that be approved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approval of June 16th regular meeting minutes. Any changes or
So move.
Second.
all in favor? Approval of the June 27th special meeting minutes. Any changes or corrections?
To be approved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Well, couldn't be better. Approval of the June 30th special meeting minutes. Any changes, corrections?
Move to be approved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approval of July 14th special meeting minutes. Changes or corrections?
Move to be approved.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. All righty, moving on to reports. First report is from the mayor. He is in absentia at this point, hopefully enjoying himself. We'll move on to commissioner and committee reports. Anybody have any commissioner reports, committee meetings? None of the above. Town manager, it's all yours.
I just want to update everybody on the audio system. We had issues, obviously, last board meeting, last special meeting. We realized this week that our receiver was struck by lightning, so we were only working on 4 speakers and they weren't working real well. So we're on a backup system right now, and we've got a new system coming in this week to replace it. So hopefully we don't have the issues we had the last. That's all I have.
All right. Moving on to the consent agenda.
Move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Good night. I'm sorry. I'm just making sure. All righty, moving right along to item number 8, Wolf rezoning request. Michael?
So on June 17th, 2022, Jason Wolf submitted a petition for rezoning to the Town of Highlands Planning and Development Office. The subject property is located at 574 Franklin Road. And the property is zoned R1 residential and is located within the watershed 3 balance of the watershed. On Mr. Wolf's petition, he is requesting a change from R1 to B4 commercial. According to the future land use map, which was approved in the most recent comprehensive plan, the subject lot and surrounding area are intended to remain low-density residential. If this board elects to proceed with the petition, the next step is to send the request to the planning board for review and recommendation. I believe Mr. Wolf is at this meeting today. And if you got any questions, Mr. Wolf, you step up here and answer.
Hey, good evening. Thank you for your time. Questions or my first rezone?
If you will state your full name
Sure.
for the record, please.
Yeah, it's Jason Wolf. Like I said, the owner of the property at 574 Franklin Road. Probably many of y'all are familiar with it. If anyone's ever eaten at the Highlands barbecue, it's directly across the street. Right down from the fruit stand, basically surrounded by, various commercial enterprises. We purchased the property about 3 or 4 years ago with the intent of one day becoming either permanent or semi-permanent residence here in the area for wife and children once they light a feet, so to speak. She and I looked at, everybody's familiar with Franklin Road. It's not exactly a quiet road by any means. One of the more popular, heavily traveled thoroughfares here in the area. We've soon come to realize after the past couple of years that it isn't as tranquil as we would have hoped. So more than likely, once we do become permanent, we'll be looking for something a little bit more, up in the mountains, maybe away from the road. But nevertheless, love the property. Currently, right now, she is, if anybody's ever eaten at Lakeside Restaurant, she's representative of the artists who are in the restaurant. She curates the, the art gallery, so to speak, there. Our intent would be to use the property to display the artwork during the time when the restaurant is closed or down, use it for overflow, and activities such as that. Uh, our thoughts are that it's already, there's already heavily commercial, there's already commercial venues in the area. Added noise, traffic are not a concern. There is no, neighborhood quality, so to speak, for these other, commercial enterprises up and down Franklin Road. Plenty of parking up front. It's got a very large parking place down at the bottom. So, that would not prevent any type of concern. So that's just kind of, what we're looking for. Obviously, play above board. So if we were to use it as, art gallery or displaying art, and, a venue for folks to come in and view the artwork that's for sale, have to require, obvious business license.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Wolf? Comments, opinions, motions?
So this would go to the planning board then? John?
Yes. If we decide to send it, don't do anything with it tonight, you go to the planning board.
What's the staff recommendation? Is it consistent with the master maintenance plan? No, it's not.
But it is obviously contiguous with other.
My personal feelings is that looks like what we're doing is we're going for the highest form of residential, which is R1 in Highlands, to the lowest form of commercial, which is highly abnormal, in my opinion, and certainly subjects the folks to each side and behind you to the potential of whatever in the future. My only comment.
I bet this has something to do with short-term rentals. Yeah.
At this point, that's neither here nor there. Because it can become a car wash.
Well, before is actually,
Like
low, yeah,
Very,
low
very low
intensity, light impact.
office
kind of
space,
stuff.
stuff like that.
That's not cool. But it is also short-term rental friendly. So yeah, I'm not necessarily in favor of this, but I'm willing to send it to the planning board for their review. But my bias right now is not, but I think it's at least worth a look at. This is the first that I've looked at it, so I would at least give you the potential. Okay. Because we do have to look not just what you want to use it for now, but what it could ever be used for in the future. That's what zoning is about. Those are some of the conundrums that we have to look at. But I do think it is because of where it is. I think it is at least having the planning board take a look at it and see what, in light of the new comprehensive plan and just actually where we could expand anything, and how close it is. I mean, I'm not familiar with the property enough to know how impactful it would be on other residents.
There's only one visible residence, adjacent to it, and the rest are, up the mountain.
Right, well, that,
Yeah.
but I'm saying, I'm not necessarily in favor of it right now. I'm just saying that I think it's at least worth, because of where it is, it's at least worth sending to the planning board. And I don't necessarily always take the planning board recommendations.
Just make that a motion.
So I'll make a motion that we send this to the planning board for their review.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Not consistent with the language.
On the planning board.
I appreciate y'all's time.
All righty. Agenda item number 9, budget amendments. Mr. Ward.
First, we have Rec Park restroom rehab project. As you may recall, the restrooms, the tennis courts at the recreation park were remodeled in last year's budget. The project was completed before the end of the fiscal year, but the final payment was held after the rec director discovered standing water in the floor after a rain event. The floor was removed and replaced with the proper slope to the floor drains. So the final payment amount is not in the current budget and requires a budget amendment to appropriate the funds.
That redo of the floor didn't cost us anything.
No, it did not.
The work has not been done yet.
So,
It's not costing us.
okay, so. we
So
don't
the
need to-
floor hadn't been poured yet, Lester? Is that what you're saying? The floor hadn't been re-poured? But we need, we
But we
needed
still
in
need
this.
it because it's gonna
Yes,
get
we
finished
needed
in
in
this
this current
year.
budget, yes.
I move we,
We just didn't use it.
so I move we approve the budget amendment for the recreation restrooms.
Second,
Have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right. Granicus Software, Josh?
Granicus is a software company that compiles data for short-term rental properties within specific jurisdictions. Several governments around the area are using this software, including Blowing Rock and Boone. Michael Mathis and I were presented a demo of the software, which included short-term rental information gathered for the Highlands town limits. At the time of the presentation, 270 short-term rentals were listed as available. The quote is based on the number of short-term rentals identified at the time of their data collection. It was explained that the number will fluctuate throughout the year. The agreement is for 12 months. The data is updated daily. We feel like the software will be very helpful regardless of the path that the Board of Commissioners decides to choose pertaining to short-term rentals. So staff's recommendation is approval of the software agreement as presented.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Or any discussion?
No, I'll second it and then we'll discuss.
Okay, any discussion?
I'll second and then discuss. So it's based on a per location number? You said it would fluctuate
Yes.
depending
So
on
the amount of
270
short-term-
or 400
Right.
or,
So we asked for a proposal and they gave that to us. And when they gave the proposal to us, they pulled the data. There was 270 rentals. So the amount is based on how many short-term rentals you have in your jurisdiction.
so did they give you an idea of how many it would ever go to?
They gave us a history of back and forth over the past 2 years. We have that. I don't have that with me.
I mean, I'm just talking about, we're making a budget amendment for the $11,000. I mean, if it's going to be $20,000, we're gonna have to come back and do it
No,
again.
no.
But
This
11,000
quote is
would be
locked
for the
in for
full
12
year.
months.
Regardless of how many there are.
Regardless.
Oh, got it.
Now, at the end of the
You
agreement.
said it fluctuated, but not this year.
Right, the number.
Okay.
Excuse me, it's kind of confusing. It does fluctuate through the year, but when they compile that data and give you the quote, that's the quote for that 12-month period of time.
Got it.
it'll help you document the non-conforming uses.
It will help with a lot of information, yes.
what did we say last meeting, my guess was?
200. And you know, if it's 270, we're talking about at 1.3 million apiece,
Oh,
so
that's
$350 million We did.
Didn't
Yes,
get
sir.
it.
I don't think
You did, but
Okay.
you know, it
Close
doesn't
enough.
matter. It's 200. The
Close
mayor
enough.
said 400. Nobody knows. It's a whole
Close
lot.
Do I have a motion to, oh, we already have a motion and a
Motion and a
second. I'm sorry. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, unanimous. Poplar Street Water Improvement, Josh?
This was another item that was in last year's budget, was Poplar Street water line improvement. It's actually upgrading this water line to 6-inch ductile down Poplar Street down to the town shed. The money, the $100,000 was given to the town in last year's state budget. There's a series of steps that the town has to go through before they will give us the funds. We have done 2 of those steps, and it was not, we're not to the point where we can start the project. So it rolled over into this year's budget, and we did not include it in the current budget. So we just basically need to put it in this current budget so we can continue with this process. What the state is saying is once we get through about 4 or 5 steps in this process, that hopefully by May, we'll get to spend the money. So if we get it in May, we may get it completed by then. If not, we may be going into the next budget year,
But we will get the money,
but we will get the money.
April. And then back order supplies will get us till August or September. Okay, so I make a motion that we approve the budget amendment to the water department for the Poplar Street water.
Second.
improvement.
For the 125, 200.
Right.
All righty, we have a motion and a second. Other comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All righty, item number 10, Ms. Kay.
Everybody. I know it's July, but we're gonna talk about snow. This is Marcy Sherwood. She's just here in case you have some extra questions tonight that I can't answer. Marcy is in charge of all of our events and programs and does a great job putting all this together. And we wanted to make sure we gave you as much detail as you would like to have. So last year we did the first snow festival last weekend of January, and we'd like to do it again on that weekend. It was a snow slide. We had a snowball toss. We had snoga, which is yoga in the snow. The school booster club came in and made s'mores and made about $800 for the school. So that was great. And we'd like to have it again on the last weekend of January. It'll be like from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to set it up a little bit different. So if you look at the second page that I gave you, you'll see that we kind of circled a smaller area than what we were covering last year. Last year, it basically went from the restrooms, all the way to the far side of the park. So that we could kind of include the ice skating rink. This year, we're pulling it over and it won't be in front of the stage, but will be primarily in that area right in front of the ice skating rink, which is nice because it ties it all together. We are working with a new company. We were not satisfied with what happened last year. And I've got some information on the page there about the machines that they would use, the Latitude 90 brand. One of the advantages, it makes a snow that's more like a real snow. Last year, the Bascom came in and was trying to do snow sculptures with the kids. And the snow was like so dry that it wouldn't stick together. They managed to make snowballs though somehow. So it will be a better product that we're getting. It's also, we're only using water, no chemicals or anything would be added to that. The decibel level is listed for you on there, which is 55 to 60 at 30 feet. which would actually meet the residential standards, even though that area isn't residential. So that's the first part of it, just some details about the actual event and the new equipment. And then to use this new equipment, we have met with Josh and Lamar and Yogi and the actual guys that would be running the equipment. And they would need three-phase power, which we already have at the ice skating rink. So what we would like to do is to pay to have two disconnects added to that so that the machines can just be plugged right in. Those come off after the event. So, they're not just sitting there. And they have confirmed that we would be able to run the ice skating rink and the machines at the same time without any problem by doing that. So that's kind of an overview. Happy to answer any questions that you guys may have about it.
How many people did you have at last year's?
That's always a problem with an event is like, how do you count a crowd? Any guesstimate? And it would depend on the time of day.
Yeah, because I went by and I never saw anybody there.
Did you go by late? It was so cold. Everybody waited till the middle of the day for the most part. But we did have a lot of families come through. On Sunday, it was more because it was slightly warmer and really sunny. So weather plays in it. It's the last January of.
Yeah, that was the day, wasn't it? Didn't it, like, you delayed it?
We actually had to delay it due to the weather, which is pretty funny and got a lot of great comments on Facebook from that. But it was just so bitterly cold, we couldn't have the volunteers out there. It was, I think, probably the coldest weekend of the year. It was freezing. I was out there. And it was the first year.
I guess I'm just trying to figure out who your audience is you're trying to present this for.
The purpose of doing the whole thing is it's the middle of winter. We don't get the snow like we used to. It's like a guaranteed snow. All the kids are coming out. It's a family event. It ends up being local. And they're just all coming out. And the whole idea is just to let them play in the snow in the park. The families all gathered. The families from the school loved it. We
So
got
you're not
lots of-
marketing this outside Highlands?
Well, we have to market everything outside of Highlands, and anytime you put anything in the media, it's online. So we can't just say, Highlands only. It was primarily our area, Scaly, Highlands, Cashers. It was mostly our school kids that were there. And the parents loved it. It was just something in the middle of the winter to do. So it was a lot of fun.
So you're just asking us to approve
Yep, approve that we can have the event again. It'll be our second year doing it. And that we could put in the three-phase power so that we could use a different type of equipment to create the snow.
I move for approval, Mrs. Mayor.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, I would say I would kind of on the same vein as Amy's question. I went by a couple of times and it was, you could have thrown a grenade in there and not hit anybody. I really think,
You should have been throwing grenades.
well,
Please don't do that.
it was government property, not R1. Having been there when they first started and the type of snow, the bags of ice run through a crusher,
Oh, yeah.
was
I was loading bags.
disappointing
Yeah.
to say the least. I would hope that if we get approval tonight, then it would indeed be a little more like something real.
Yes.
Then
That's why we are not rehiring that company. They didn't deliver on what we
Yeah,
were
We talked about it
expecting.
in rec committee, and I think they're trying to do something good, and just give them an opportunity. I think the weather was bad, the
Yeah,
first time out.
Yeah.
You get hiccups, but give them a
Okay.
chance and
okay.
Just
see
trying to
what they
make,
can make of it.
right, just trying to make kids happy.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All righty. Thank you, ma'am.
Do we need it separate for the power phase or no?
I thought it was all together in one motion.
Okay.
Yeah, do it all.
All righty. Any further business to be brought before the board?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Mayor.
Second.
So moved. We are adjourned.
This